Welcome everybody. Welcome. We've been inundated with sign-ups for this. We kind of got sold out. So we're very fortunate and excited that everyone was interested in what we wanted to talk about, and we're also broadcasting this live in various mediums. So I'm hoping it reaches a lot of people. I'm just unbelievably excited to get this panel together. You know, when we started thinking about talking about what to do now, what's going on. There's a zillion webinars that are out there, and we know this. I think it's important to get the right people to give the right perspective. No one has the answers for what's going to happen, but I believe if we get the right insights from the right minds who've been thinking about these things, who are involved in these things, we each of us can maybe put some sort of a picture together that can help us move forward in terms of what we do in our careers, in terms of what we do with skilling, with education. So this is why we have this amazing panel in front of us. I'm going to introduce you guys to them soon. The agenda here is to understand a few things in this new evolving landscape. You know, workflow changes. What is actually happening? How are people doing their jobs? What are the new skills that are required? Where it's going? Can you learn and earn together? What do you do? Do you spend money on earning, on learning when you have to earn? So all these questions are there. Everyone's in the same boat, and I believe if we all collectively look at these questions, I think we can find a nice path for us, which is stable for us to go forward, right? So that's what we want to talk about today. First of all, let me start by saying thank you to all our fantastic panelists. I'm going to do a quick introduction and a chat with them. First, we have Salim Merchant. Salim, thank you so much for coming here. Salim, everyone who knows him, but I'll just say Salim is a music composer, producer, singer, performer, of the highest level in Indian entertainment, you know, and he's collaborated with lots of international artists. He's performed live at the FIFA World Cup. That's unbelievable. He's a great supporter of young musicians, of music education. He's been a friend, a pal of mine for over about 25 years now. We work together on projects, and I'm very proud to call you my brother. I'm very happy to have you here. And thank you very much, Salim, for joining us on this. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ashu. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah. Next, I want to talk about Joel Hamilton. Now, Joel, hi, Joel. You can read. Thank you so much for coming. Joel is a multiple Grammy-nominated, highly internationally acclaimed record producer, engineer, musician from Brooklyn, New York. He's a co-owner of Studio G, a phenomenal recording facility. Has worked with the who's who, actually, from Pretty Lights to Iggy Pop to Norah Jones. Is a teacher. In fact, we're very proud that he's working with us on if it's a little shameless plug, but the artist series of courses that we're doing. And Joel's course is going to be starting in a few weeks. And, you know, we just met earlier, just very recently, and we just really connected. I felt like I'd known him forever now. And I just love talking to him because I love the way his mind works. And he's got a lot of insights that we all are going to enjoy. So thank you, Joel. Thank you, Joel, for coming here. You know?
Glad to be here.
The next person on our panel is Mr. Mohit Soni.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Soni. Hi. Mohit, so lucky to have you here, you know, to be on the panel with us because Mohit Soni, you know, you have a wealth of entrepreneurial and business experience. And I know that you're passionate about the training industry in media, you know, in the media sector. So Mohit is the CEO of the Media and Entertainment Skills Council. And it is because of their efforts that there is now a national occupation standard for musicians. That's amazing, Salim, because of these guys, they managed to do that. And it's mandated to create a skilling framework for the media and entertainment industry. You know, this has been so close to my heart because for the last 25 years, we've tried to organize our sector. Salim knows this, how much we've tried to do this in various ways. And this certification from the government through the MESC is a massive step towards the legitimization of careers in the music industry. And I can't tell you how much that has helped. Parents have understood that. A big debt of gratitude towards you, sir, and the MESC for championing our cause. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here.
Same here.
Next one is Rob Code. Now, Rob is truly a man after my own heart. He's a bass player turned music producer turned educationist. In 1994, Rob set up arguably the best electronic music production and DJ school in the world called Point Blank. He now has schools in LA, London, Ibiza, China, and Mumbai, proudly with us. We're very happy to do that with you. And more relevantly today, online. Online. I really want to talk to you about that because you've been there before a lot of us. And what you got, what we want to learn from where you've been. We are babies in it as TSM. He's the founder and CEO and has really created a global brand. So thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for being here. This is amazing panel. All right. So what I'm going to just do is chat with you guys. Please feel free to chime in anytime. Salim, if I can start with you, man. You know, how have you? Like, I want you to just talk a little bit about your own work and how you adjusted in this work from home space. Have you uncovered new like opportunities, and how has that been working with the industry and all that stuff for you? And has that continued? Can you just give us some insight in that?
So Ashu, we were, 20 years back, we did an album called Bhumi, which I think you know about because it was a pet project of mine, and we mixed it at Real World Studios, at Peter Gabriel Studio there. And in 2019, which was last year, Suleiman and I decided to do our next album, which was 20 years later, because in between we did so many movies, ads and whatnot. We decided that we have to put out an album now, It's been 20 years. So we finished the album in February, and we were about to mix. Now, in March, we had planned to mix. We mixed one song at our studio. And the rest of the songs, before we could start, the lockdown happened.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, fine, it'll get over. Things will get back in 2-3 weeks, maybe. But 1 week passed, 2 weeks passed, the cases were rising. And, Suleiman and I were getting a little kind of frustrated. Cut to our engineer, Aftab. He says, there's a new software, and we use Source Connect because when we record orchestras in East Europe, Prague, in Budapest, and whatever, we use Source Connect, we use Audio Movers. But Source Connect was the more like a popular one. So we said, why don't we just, I told Aftab, why don't you just beam the mix from your studio, and we'll get on a Skype or Zoom call, and we will listen to the mix via Source Connect.
Yeah.
And we this way we mix the entire album. So we only one song at our studio.
Yeah.
The rest of the 6 songs, there are 7 songs on the album.
Yeah.
The rest of the 7 songs were all mixed
Unbelievable. Yeah.
from our homes. Everybody was at their home. So myself, my brother Suleiman, our engineer Aftab was beaming it from his home studio, and Raj, who works with us. So we were all working from our home and mixing our record every day. 3 weeks went by. We finished the album. We finished mixing the album. We mastered it, and it's all done. But it wasn't over. We were like, okay, now we'll get back to the studio. That wasn't over.
Yeah.
The lockdown continued, and it's still continuing. So we did a single every Ramadan Eid. We release a devotional song.
Right.
And this year we thought it's impossible because how will we work? I mean, how will we make a song? It's not going to be possible. But then I said, you know what? Let's just try. I wrote a song. I sent it to Suleiman. He sent me some files back. Sent it to Raj. Raj sent me some files back. I recorded Santoor. I recorded Rahul Sharma, the fine Santoor player. He recorded on his iPhone. He recorded the Santoor, and with using some Dolby app.
Yeah, that Dolby. Yeah. I know that.
And so we found a way of working, man. We just found a way of
Where there's a will, there's a way, man.
Together, we shot the video on an iPhone at 4K, and all that kind of stuff, and we put it together on a FCP, and we released the video also. So
that's awesome.
Now it's like nothing's going to stop us. Nothing's gonna stop
No, really, man. You know what? I found such unbelievable efficiency in this new format of working. Because I've been also been doing a lot of composition work, and what's amazing is that multiple studios working simultaneously at the same time. Well, I'm producing something, and my vocal dub is being something. I'm not spending any time going from studio to studio. The dubs are being done. They're sent to me. Everything's like, man, we finished so much work in such a short amount of time. It was beautiful. So there's a really, and I'm seeing this as a trend that's happening everywhere. So, do you like it better?
No, I'm a believer of people. I love musicians. I love working with them in the studio. I think music is about people. The whole energy of
Yeah, yeah,
listening to this guitar sound right there, figuring out maybe the tuning could be better.
yeah,
Let's try and change things around. Hearing the tabla live in
yeah,
front of you. Maybe we can change the mic position. I want to be involved in the recording. I don't like this. I
yeah,
don't like this remote virtual stuff. No,
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
real person.
Yeah, I guess we've been all kind of, we've ingrained in a certain way of doing things that are very beautiful.
This is just for timing. It's okay. I mean,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the realness is ultimately virtual. I don't like virtual. I'm a real person.
yeah. But when you were hearing it through when you were hearing it through the softwares, when you
It's
were hearing your
pristine
mixes,
sound.
what
Anshu, the sound is pristine.
it's good. Yeah,
It's great quality.
yeah,
In my headphones, it's fantastic sound. There's no drop in terms of sound quality, anything like that. It's pristine sound.
yeah.
It's just point. It's less than 1 second a lag. That's all.
Right. Yeah.
But otherwise, it's fine.
Yeah. You know what do you think about like as a musician and as a producer, what do you think producers should think about right now in preparation for the next 6 months or next 3 months, 4 months as far as what they know or how they work right now? Do you have any like suggestions for people?
Producers, well, this is really a difficult time. So we have to adapt to this whole virtual world
Yeah.
of recording, from your home. A lot of people are actually, kind of working with different microphones and SM58s and stuff like that, trying different plugins to make it sound like a kind of a condenser
Yeah.
mic and all that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
these are testing times. I mean, we have to
Yeah.
everybody is just pulling the socks up, working longer hours, and so there is really nothing. One thing as an industry that we need to develop and we need to really figure out is how to do virtual concerts, without, not just pre-recorded stuff, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of like figure out. I know Darshan has figured this out. Darshan Doshi has figured it out through Audio Movers, which is really amazing. I mean, the whole 4 or 5 musicians, they get together, they all have Audio Movers and they log in and they play
Yeah.
together. But still, there's a lag on video. So there's
Yeah.
that. So the live business, someone has to figure out how to get that going. But
What about like collaborations and stuff like that right now with you? Are you in this day and age? Are you finding? Are you wanting to do that? Is it happening more
It's happening more and more. I featured on these sort of these Corona Warrior type of songs, like
Yeah, yeah.
so many of them.
Yeah.
For and so many of these songs which have kind of like for charity and stuff like
Right.
that.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that people are putting out, and it's great to participate, to help the
Yeah.
community, to help society, to raise funds for people and stuff. So yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
thing, and it's more and more. This is a time where people are actually opening out possibilities of how to write songs for
Exactly. Yeah.
for an ensemble, for more
Yeah.
people. And it's a good time. I look at it in a positive way, but yes, I do miss the magic of the studio, the magic of
Yeah.
recording people live, and seeing them and talking to them, rather than this virtual stuff. Not mine.
Yeah, I know. I know. You're in a band at the end of the day, right? You got to
As an
figure it out.
industry, as an industry, yes, we are. I mean, there are a lot of, you have to understand the movie industry. You don't know what's going to happen. When our cinema halls going to open? So a lot of film work is pending. There's a lot of films which are, the post.
But I'm seeing a real rise in everyone's really busy with this whole OTT the stuff, There's a lot of content that is being required for that. And now they're designing different type of content. Can I just shoot one person in a room, blah, 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 whatever. New stories are being made.
No, not big shows are not going to be launched like that, Ashu. So maybe whatever stuff is in post can happen.
Yeah.
But, and pre-production can happen, but shoot stuff may not
Yeah,
happen.
they have to look at a different way of doing that
Yeah.
now.
Although
Yeah.
shooting has resumed now.
It has.
Yeah, shooting has resumed in India.
Yeah.
Of course, in non-containment zones.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle, man. It's a struggle. It's not like the best situation,
Yeah.
especially for musicians also because there's very less work comparatively. It's not that there's not that much because the live business is completely gone off,
The live business is gone. Yeah. Yeah.
which is a lot of work, which is a lot of work and a lot of money for
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So we have to figure out how to get the live business
that.
viable again. No, one thing, the recording business viable again in this format. You know, the point is that if I feel so bad because a lot of fantastic musicians, I can't record them because they don't know how to record at home, and they can't give that to me. You know, I mean, the
But
reality
it's
is
time to learn. It's time to learn.
exactly that. I think the reality is that a singer who's a great singer, who's usually depending on a sound engineer to record but can't do it from home. I think you got to learn how to do it now. I mean, that's where this whole idea of upskilling and understanding of enhancing your ability, your portfolio to be able to earn a living. I think that's a lot big focus for us, and talking about that actually in this conversation. So anyway, thanks a lot, Salim, for your input. I want to just go to Joel for a second. Joel, thank you for joining us here. And I think from there, I'd love to get your input on in New York and your whole world, the international world of audio recording, where it's going, what's happening. It's just kind of opening up there right now in New York, and can you give us some insight on that and even your personal work and how that is being influenced, affected, and going forward, how do you see it?
Yeah, my experience has been unique in the sense that New York took such heavy losses early on. And we had just such a crazy time of it right off the bat with this thing. And it was like the light turned red unexpectedly, with barely any yellow in between. It was like we just all hit the brakes really hard, spilling our drinks, and like everybody's hitting the steering wheel. And what was so interesting to me is the fact that I'm lucky to be able to come to my own studio. It's a 7-room facility. It's not just like a personal studio thing. It's a 7-room public facility, but having the keys means that I could quarantine in the A room. This is in the B room now, but I was in the A room where I do all my mixing and stuff. And there were people that were still working in Istanbul, in LA, and sending me things to mix kind of a month into where we had already shut everything down. So I skidded out over this kind of lockdown. I think something like, based on what you guys were just talking about, I would ask everybody on the panel, I don't think any one of us just sort of had a very clear path. We didn't go down to the musician's office and apply for our job, and then we were handed a position in the world in a career trajectory that's so personalized and specific to each person, how we got to where we are today and what actually influenced us. What I've been looking at recently is the fact that the more well-rounded among us are the ones that are still thriving now. Meaning the fact that I hosted an entire web series for Spotify and Bose when they were trying to take on Beats and Apple Music with a sort of hardware and software streaming platform partnership. They came up with a whole series that I was the host of, so understanding how to put a light on yourself and how to mic yourself for a presentation and things like this. It's just a part of the same evolutionary kind of adaptation that any of us have had to go through for our entire careers, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
It's just that we had the brakes hit for us this time. But it's not that we've never had any sort of loss or impediment. There were not that there was no hurdles before in the music business. So weirdly, I've been watching everybody sort of adapt to the way that they're dealing with this. And we can reference the negative in the sense of saying there's a singer that doesn't know how to record. I mean, this is an evolutionary step now. We see the mutation happening where it's like there's someone who can do it then, and that's who got the backing vocal work from me.
Exactly.
And it's the same though for me, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, if I was available and in New York and I knew how to edit in Sound Tools before Pro Tools, it's like I was the one that got the job doing the editing of the 2-track for a bigger record than maybe my resume would have stood for at the time. But because I had the skill set and the time and the place and that sort of Duchampian rendezvous, meaning like the context has changed. I didn't change in that day. It's that the context that I was being viewed in changed, and all of a sudden it was art.
Absolutely.
that to me is what we're seeing here, is that there's a few people that are able to adapt to this particular circumstance. And my studio in general, we started it off, I came up through the sort of punk and hardcore scene of CBGB's type of stuff here in New York. And we never had the Bruce Springsteen budgets or the Madonna budgets. We had the punk rock budgets. And so, I mean, I'm sitting in a room with like a Neve that has my name on it, you know, that they built for me. And this is because what we did was we made the most of the $500 that we had instead of the 5 million. So the whole place is predicated on maximizing that. The conditions, you know, the rainforest that created the Bruce Sweetians and the Michael Browers, it simply doesn't exist even in the music business. And so all of a sudden we were the cactus in the desert. There's limited, you know, resources, and yet we were 75 feet tall and just as anything else that was growing. And I think what's amazing is to see people emerging from this. People thought streaming was going to do this to us.
Yes.
Like that Napster had killed the business in 99, you know, and all of this. And the next thing you knew, the conditions that gave rise to some of the dinosaurs, they started to drop away because they simply couldn't deal with recording on something that looked like a typewriter. Once we got rid of the play button and the record button on the Studer, it was like too confusing. There were guys that couldn't type, like me, when I was 18. And then all of a sudden I had to use Pro Tools in the year 1999, and I learned where the S was and the A and the return key instead of play, stop, and rewind.
Yeah.
On tape, man. I mean, I don't see this as any different. It's just more dramatic because we're all experiencing it at the same time.
The same time.
Our personal trajectories dictating when we run up against a hurdle.
I'd say that's an amazing perspective to look at it from the point of view of this whole thing just jamming down together. Everyone has got to evolve at the same time right now, and the one that evolves better and faster are the ones that are going to move ahead. Yeah, I mean, beautifully said. Because I think
the broad-based notion of having educational access to education, that includes all of the aspects of bringing your brand to the marketplace rather than just being good at microphones. That was never true for a producer anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just being good at beat matching was never just the thing for a DJ. Just being good at one particular aspect of bringing your brand to the world. Like, why would I choose you over the other million people that can do basically the same thing? It's because of your ideas. But if you can't get them to me, it's the tree falling in the forest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, I've had that experience personally also, like right now, I was trying to record for a song and I couldn't find a singer. And the singer that I wanted was who I was like a young little, indie kind of a singer, but I couldn't manage to record it at home. And then now he lost the gig because I had to go get it done from someone else. And it's and that I think it's a rude awakening for a lot of people that, okay, now you need to understand these, because to me everything is related, man. All forms of everything, all aspect of the recording process is related. So I think when people put blinkers now, they start thinking about, you can't afford to put blinkers on anymore. You got to look wider, and I think that is a key lesson. Do you think there are opportunities like that existing right now for anyone to learn worldwide? You know. I guess online.
I mean, again, what an amazing sort of equalizing factor. The fact that I finished out a course that I was doing at Berklee online, even though it's just in Boston. First, I was doing a visiting artist thing there, and then I finished out the rest of the semester at Berklee online, doing it just like this.
Yeah.
And amazingly enough, it's kind of like the socialization or the democratization, depending on how we look at it, of recording in general, when everyone could do it on their laptop. Amazingly, it placed more importance on who was making the decisions rather than the infrastructure they were using during the course of making those decisions. The same idea where now look at what educational facilities are doing. It doesn't matter if you have a gymnasium-sized studio designed by Walter Storick anymore, by John Storick. Now you wind up with the people themselves being the reason that you're
going to the place. Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And how is your world working out now? What's happening in the next few months for you? I mean, how is the industry going for you? Are they just you were mentioning that they are now waking up with a bang. Is that?
It's amazing. I mean, it's waking up because we have junior A&R people, you know, calling me for Zoom meetings with their artists because they don't have a supervisor that can tell them it's a bad idea because no one's ever done this before. So if you've got a budget, how do we wake up the major label system? It's like, no one knows. We never had to do this before. There was no Universal Records in 1918. So there absolutely is no precedent. You know, even if there's a pandemic precedent, there's no way to talk about like who's going to be listening to music online. It's never happened before. Right. But I'll tell you this, they definitely are looking to cut their losses and move forward just like any of us. And so the sooner that we can start having meetings, I mean, I have sessions coming up now in August using best practices in the studio. We have a 10,000 square foot facility. So we've limited the number of people in each room and all of this. And what's amazing is though, is having meetings with like some of the biggest records that I've done in the last 10 years are coming up right now, you know, like in August, September, November, October, November, and the meetings are right now. Like at first we sort of felt the leaves rustling, you know, and there was a few emails coming through like, hey, are you guys doing anything here in Brooklyn, you know? And then it went, you know, it jumped through all the hoops that we all know it has to jump through, meetings with management and the artist and all this to determine who's doing the record. But what's amazing to me is to see if the money is there, and it's a big if, but it is for Universal or Atlantic or, you know, any of the bigger groups, Warner Brothers. So for me, the fact that I'm working with major label artists means that there is a budget and absolutely no oversight as to how to target
well, that's a massive opportunity there.
The next month, you know, how do we make it happen? Does it mean that everybody has to fly business class? So we're sending each other? Okay, because nobody's there to say no. So
that's a massive opportunity.
Relative optimism there, man. Right now, we're feeling this relative optimism of, it's kind of the Wild West, you know, this frontier is uncharted. And if you have money, there's people throwing it around, you know, to be able to get things done. Because think about it. Nobody knows how to do it. So if you're first, Ashu, everybody's going to follow you.
Yeah. Well, we're used to that sentiment in India here. Thanks a lot, Joel, because India tends to be the wild, wild west in many aspects of it. And I think we all over here have been on that horse riding into the sunset. I'd like to ask, I'd like to get Mohit on board right now. Thank you so much for being part of this. You know, just actually taking away from what from Joel is saying, and in the context of our country over here in India. I mean, is there like a push to make like skilling accessible? You know, our whole issue is now how to get it out there. How do we make and this whole issue with online, and what are your thoughts, and what can we do? What can people like us from True School do, or whatever, to accelerate the process of getting the skilling out there as much as possible to the people that need it, and all walks of life? I mean, we're talking about from small technicians to every hall, every place, every temple, everything's got audio, everything's got somewhere, you know, like we need people, qualified people, to be able to come there, to work on those spaces. So I would love to know your thoughts and what you guys are thinking about that going forward.
So Ashu, I strongly believe with challenges come opportunities, and I think this is the best time for those who are the first step movers in it. It's a good time for us to realize what skill sets we need further to polish ourselves. You know, I don't think ever in our life we would have had so many days of sitting at home or working from home. And I don't think it should happen ever again.
A lot of introspection,
But I think it's been a great time, you know, because everybody in the country which we are talking to, and with our sessions going viral across India internationally, what we have realized is that people have gradually started adapting this as a new mode of education and learning. There has been several incidences, like, you know, where people are coming up and saying that, yes, I do need to upskill myself.
Right.
They have started realizing it. They've started realizing that technology is something which they have to really be focusing on nowadays. And if you look into our industry, starting from what we believe or what we know, our industry has been facing challenges in every walk of life, whether it was initially the perception, then whether it was technology, and today the COVID-19 situation. But the good part is that the industry has come out of it very smartly and very efficiently every time, and we have seen a tremendous growth in our country.
Okay.
I think skilling is one area where government has been really focusing upon. And under the strong leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji and our Honorable Minister Skill Development and Entrepreneurship Dr. Mahendranath Pandey, we have been taking several initiatives, both from the central government as well as the state governments, to try to reach across to the ground level
Yeah.
and utilize this time to impart the education which nobody would have ever even imagined or thought of. You know, think of somebody sitting in a TSC who would have never had the exposure of such eminent professionals or faculties coming across and teaching them. I think this has opened doors for them to really gain a lot of exposure, a lot of learning. Yes, there have been certain challenges when it comes to somewhere on the broadband or the bandwidth issues. Yes, those are there, but that's not something which is stopping us.
Right.
It's going like crazy right now. And I see that partners like TSM and many others which are associated with us, we have seen that with their support, with their comfort which we have been able to establish, the classes which we are now offering and which we intend to offer in the coming time would substantially be able to bring a good exposure to all the candidates to
Right.
learn and to upgrade themselves. And I think I would really look forward from TSM and the panel here to see if we can work out some very intensive modules of upskilling, because the community today in our industry really requires a lot there. And yes, there are stalwarts, there are people who are the big faces, the big names in our industry, but certainly this thing needs to be really looked at. And I see that as a great opportunity all of us to collaborate together and take it forward.
Fabulous. That's amazing because, one thing that's obvious now is that accessibility to educators has become so much more easier, because we're in this space right now. Even when we are going online right now as TSM, we know that our faculty doesn't need to be in India. It doesn't need to be anywhere.
Yep.
They can be anywhere right now. And suddenly getting that wealth of knowledge beamed straight directly into a village in Bombay, in India somewhere. And it's unbelievable from New York to, a small village. So these are all, and we can help shape, translate and understand how it can be in regionalized, the content. And I think that's where we need to go with this. But that you're saying that a lot of people are actually understanding that this online education is working. Is it because that's our biggest fear, that people don't understand that you can learn music online, or you can learn sound engineering online, you can do these things, so.
And Ashu, I'm sorry to butt in here, and this is for Mohit and Ashu both. Because I'm also answering a lot of questions as while this webinar is on. Some people are asking also that can we get a certificate? Can we get a TSM? Do we get an official, like a degree, just like we get a degree for any kind of BA? Is TSM offering a degree now, which is government recognized?
Yeah. I mean, the point is that MESC has recognized the skill qualification levels are the same as a degree. When you do 3 years at TSM, you get NSQF 7, right? The qualification. So that actually is phenomenal because it's the first time you're studying music and you're getting a degree equivalency. So you can technically go do a master's straight after that. So, and I think with people like Rob, this is great. Thank you so much for bringing this up because I think this is a great segue to getting Rob on board because we actually have a degree program with Rob, with Point Blank, because you can study over here and continue over there. So thank you, Mohit. I'm just going to get Rob on board for a bit. Rob, welcome. You have been part of this this game since the education game since what, 94, right? Is that when we set up? I think your mic is off. Just
there we go.
Thank you. So you are actually more experienced in this than we are as far as in the online space, and and Point Blank has obviously been one of the, it's the premier institute, and we are so happy to be associated with them. But it's in that technology space and understanding how to teach in that space. In your opinion, I just want you to give me what you feel. What are the advantages of what we have right now, what you have going, or what we need to do right now in the online education space? And I think people need to understand if it works or not. A lot of it is like that.
Well, I'll just give you a couple of stats just to start off. We have since the start of the pandemic, we've transferred all our London students to online teaching, pretty much. A few that wanted to defer. And we've had a pretty high retention rate. It's about, I'd say about 80%.
Wow. Okay.
Which is 80% attending, which is actually, we looked at the stats for for the college courses on campus, and it's pretty similar.
Okay.
So, you know,
Yeah.
you're always going to get one or two that don't show up to their lectures, of course. So we've had, you know, great.
Yeah, but that's always been the fear with online, right? Like everyone's just gonna just 5% retention. You know?
Yeah, no, it's been phenomenal. It's largely, I think it's down to many things. You know, we've had a lot of experience. So, you know, we've been running an online school since 2007.
Right.
So there's a lot of learnings we've had from, you know, how to deliver, and you know, you can use things like Zoom is fantastic, but that's just the front end.
Correct.
It's all the back end stuff. I think Joel was saying you can build a fantastic studio and have all the equipment, but it's the content, it's the personality, it's what you're delivering that's so important. And so I think what makes it a success is the combination of, we're in a fantastic age where we've got all this technology, but we have to make it work for us. And one of the reasons we've been able to do that is we have a lot of experience. We've, you know, things like our virtual learning environment, it's the back end of everything. So Zoom is the front end, but where all the causes, all the notes, all the video, all the interaction, you know, I think, you know, with online, you want to try and replicate the classroom experience as much as you can. So yes, you can put a few videos up there and some course notes, but that's not really engaging.
No.
What you want is humans. You want people online. And I know Salim was talking about, you know, you prefer to be in the studio, and of course for making music, that's what people want. But for when we're forced into this situation, the more interaction we can get, whether it's making music, whether it's teaching, and for students, the better. So we are looking at how we can improve that constantly, always looking, how do we improve that interaction? And the one thing, I mean, obviously this pandemic is a terrible thing, but it is an accelerator. It makes things happen quicker. Things that we've had ideas for ages that we've had for developing, we've done in like 3 months that might have taken us a year, because we've had to. In fact, we did it in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we had to react. Once we knew the school couldn't stay open anymore, we had a load of students. Like, we can't just leave them and abandon them. We've got to sort of engage them and get them into education and get them online. And we just did it really quickly. And I've got to say, you know, the instructors were fantastic. And it's all about people at the end of the day.
I think so.
So you need your engine. You can have all. Zoom is great because.
Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of people have. I think you and me maybe know a little bit about this because we are in it and we are creating it. So, but a lot of people think online education is a Zoom class, you know,
Yes.
which it's not. Which the point is that it can be, and a lot of people think, in my opinion, people pass it off as, and unfortunately, that gives that whole concept of online education a bad name. You know, what we've discovered, and I'm sure what you have been going through for a long time, is that, my God, with this new bunch of assets that we have that we can actually use, it's just so much more efficient, and it actually can be fantastic. Of course, some things are not going to be there, but some other things make up for it. So can you, like, in your opinion, like, you know, you went from offline to online, right? Like, so can you kind of let us know about what was better and what was not, you know what I mean, so that people have a better understanding of what is this thing, online education in music, you know?
Some of the things that people have said, the students have said in terms of what they've liked about this online delivery is, I've got a quote here that one of the students said, I'm just going to read it from this quote here. They said, how amazing it felt to study with the teacher and classmates in the comfort of their own studio. So they could have the lesson in their studio.
Yeah.
And when they've got all their setup, they've got everything working. And we have really, what we've done is replicated what we deliver in the school on campus. So we have one-to-one time, we have master classes, we have studio lab technicians there available for you. If you get stuck outside of the classroom, if you're online and you get stuck, we've got people online literally all day, and you can book a session with them, and they will go online and help you with your project. So these are things that we do in London, and we've brought them into the online school. And we've been doing this for quite a while now, but you know, we're just looking at constantly improving. How do we engage our online students? And outside the academic stuff, we've got, we have an A&R director, and he also interacts as much with our online students as he does with our on-campus students. So looking for talent, we're looking at their music. Can we sign it up to our label? We've got a careers advisor. The careers advisor is not just working on campus, he's going to speak to all the students online. So it's all this added value, I think, and if you think of online, it just really can replicate what you do in the classroom. And in some ways, it can actually be better because you can be more focused. So, there are pros and cons.
I've been hearing stuff from our teachers like, my God, we're getting stuff done much faster because our lesson planning is done better. Everything is done better. The learning outcomes are coming better. Everything's monitored better. And they're also, it's hard work in the beginning, but the faculty are, I think, enjoying it because they're seeing the results. What's beautiful about teaching is when you can see what you've taught and you can hear it back or feel it back. And I think you can get that. And we're getting that feeling right now, at least at our place right now. So it's beautiful, actually. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everyone has to. If anyone wants to learn now, they have to do it online, wherever they are in the world.
Yeah.
So that's all they can do. There are people that normally, if they were given the choice, would prefer to go into a school. We get that. The same reason that Salim was saying, people want content. We don't have that available right now. So we have to do the best we can. And there are actually people anyway who prefer studying online. It fits in better with what they're doing. It's normally cheaper online because you don't have the overheads. You don't have to get a visa and travel. You can be in your own studio. You can connect with students all over the world. So there are advantages. It fits if you're working, perhaps going to a school. The online works better for you if you're working and you can fit it around the studies around work. So there are lots of advantages of why even before the pandemic, people would choose online. And now, of course, they don't have any choice. So, you're constantly looking at improving. And I think what's going to happen are the two are going to merge. And what we're doing from next term is it's all going to be blended learning. So we're going to have teachers coming into the school and teaching in the school, but also broadcasting as well.
Exactly.
But that's going to happen for all our classes. Now, we've been talking about this for years.
I know that, but we'll be talking about it too. And that was selfishly, I found it so fantastic when this happened, everything just shifted very quickly and everyone embraced it. It was quite amazing. So we still have to, I think we're about 80% there. I think all of us in learning, in getting the learning outcomes out, we still have to figure out a few other areas, which I think with the support of technology soon, hopefully will be there where we all can jam together properly. And, when Salim will feel better to be with musicians and perform together rather than independently, we will get there. But thank you so much. That's great. I'm going to just, I love it. I love the way we've gone through each of the things. I think it's exactly what I wanted to go through. So, I'm just going to quickly, let me just kind of summarize what you guys have been talking about, and then we'll open it up for some questions. Is that cool? Nilesh, we're going to do that. So, with Salim, going back to what you were talking about how you managed to do this whole, I loved your idea of the album and how you actually managed to mix, because that was always a tough thing.
I was forced to do it. I mean, I really, like I said, I keep saying that I would have loved to.
Innovation, but what I love is that jugaad, the innovation. That innovation, jugaad, that whole Indian thing, man, that is yes, because that is what we have to do, and out of that jugaad comes some really beautiful things also. So indeed. I think that's what one thing we need to look at. With Joel, when we used to, what stuck in my head is this whole break thing, man. Everyone got squashed, and everyone had to evolve at the exact same time. I think that is very well put. I think that is something that everyone should think about. I look at it as a positive too, because I think it's a level playing field. If even the big boys and the small boys or girls are all together now. So then if you can figure out a way to get yourself up, upskill yourself, come up, you can probably make a easier headway into the new wild west that's happening right now. And Mohit, yeah, talking about all the stuff that we can do online, please let us know how we can also collaborate much more together. And I can't tell you how important it is to have your contribution into this whole game, because it legitimizes us musicians in many eyes, you know, because as it is, you, like you said, we were trying to fight the fact that you can have a career in this music industry. First of all, parents have to believe that that's viable, and now with your support and the government support, it's all being justified and legitimized, which I really feel happy about. And I think skilling through online, as you mentioned, is the way to go forward, and we will try and see how we can connect teachers to the students with
Correct.
you.
And Ashu, I strongly believe we should also look at how we can train the teachers at schools, because that's a big market which is still lying untapped.
Yes,
I think
yes.
that's a big segment we need
Teacher
to
training. You're talking about teacher training, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because you know what's happened is we depending on technology sometimes to replace people, but the people need to be taught themselves. So you can't. It's like, I think one thing that's common over here that everyone said, it's all about the people. Wherever you're in a recording studio, when you're learning, where you're teaching. So whatever that is, I think the human factor we have to keep in mind in this whole thing, and what is human more than learning and training and teaching. So
it's only the delivery fact, it's the delivery method that has shifted anyway. It's the same fact that like the best vinyl makes the best MP3s.
Right.
The best recordings, the best mixes still sound the best coming out of your phone speaker.
Right.
And so the fact that the format has changed a bit, when Ashu, when you and Rob were just talking, I was thinking about the fact that it's the same idea that nobody wanted to be sitting around in the dark when the whale oil salesman started to hear about this new electricity thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we only cared about getting the lights on at night, and we didn't care how it happened so much.
Yeah.
And so the notion that, there was a new way of doing this that was more convenient and didn't require killing whales to be able to read at night,
Yeah.
It's like seeing a technology become a delivery method is something that, because of the paradigm that we all live in, because of our age group, we went from analog to digital, we went from no streaming to streaming, all of this. This isn't particularly shocking as far as
Right.
how the information itself is getting into people's homes or into their brains. Is that's the only shift here. The
That's
song
true.
that Salim made is maybe is downloadable now, and 35 years ago I would have had to buy the cassette,
Yeah.
or the record. I mean, and I would have rocked out to the song. In the
Yeah.
end, exactly the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, it's sort of like hearing you two speaking, hearing everybody speaking today is inspiring in the sense that I see why each person is what they are in their careers as far as the way they're thinking. And if the delivery method is this for the time being, or even for the near future,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's so much of an impediment, in my opinion. Just like an MP3, everybody complained about it
Yeah,
forever, and it was crappy or whatever, and then the next thing we knew, we would just do things to make sure it still worked, that it
Yeah.
still works when you're listening on your phone is a new consideration for the same old notion that a good song is a good song is a good song.
Oh man, you're giving me goosebumps, man, talking about it like that, because you're talking about the core of us being artists, of being human, and yeah, all this is just a medium, and so we shouldn't get faltered by it, right? We shouldn't get like stunned by it. We just need to adapt and quick, and we have the tools for adapting, and if we have the ability and the access to get those tools to adapt, then there's no reason why we can't move ahead. I mean, I think that's essentially what everyone seems to be I'm getting that from the whole panel. Beautiful.